talking? Me? You or me?
You.
Guys, Friday frenzy. We're coming into Christmas. If you want to move in by Christmas, the property market is up, down, left, right, sideways, everything. We're going to talk about, in summary, what the market's done the last week. It's been a big week. New one.
Ah,
How are you?
good.
How are you out there, everyone?
Great. I feel like I've got frizzy hair this morning. Frizzy hair, and I don't care. We went out walking, and it started raining. We didn't have an umbrella.
Wind, rain.
So yeah, boys don't have that problem.
El Nino.
Boys don't have that problem, but girls, I know girls out there that are watching. They feel what I'm saying. It's always like, it's raining. I feel like I'm always walking around with just frizzy hair at the moment because it starts off being a sunny day and then it ends up raining just for no reason whatsoever.
Do you reckon the weather has changed the property market the last 3 months?
No, I think much like COVID, where everything was new initially and we didn't know like what a lockdown meant. We didn't know what isolation meant. We didn't know all these words. After a while, people got used to all of that stuff.
Resilient bunch.
And you know, yeah, and that's what's happening with the weather. You know, ordinarily a rainy Saturday would probably keep buyers in, and just the, you know, essential buyers would come out. But now it doesn't seem to be affecting anything. People realise that we're just going to have lots of rain, and so we just got to get used to it. You know, that's the reality of it.
I like that word, essential.
Yeah.
I think that's a really good word, guys and girls. If you want to work out what the property market has done, is doing, where it's going, I think work out essential, what's essential. And that's the sort of stuff that we're seeing out there at the moment.
Yeah.
If you sort of put that essential ruler against anything out there at the moment, it sort of starts to make sense.
It does. Yeah, it definitely does. And there are certainly, look, northern beaches. We're going to be talking a little bit this morning about just everything. Friday Frenzy. Mark and I usually just have a good chat about the week.
Wow.
Or, you know, we usually just have a little go at each other. Sometimes that can happen.
No.
Sometimes it can. But look, I just think be careful about what you read in the media. So Jonathan Creek is a guy who we do lots and lots of training with. He's got a company called VALE. So he does many things, but he helps agents with video content and you know, how to film videos. And he's done a lot of work with our agency. But he actually put up a really good point yesterday, Mark, about you know, be careful that the media doesn't ruin an industry like real estate from reporting facts that are they're not localized. So when the media reports stuff, particularly about real estate, it's usually so generic that it actually is not relative to a lot of these other markets. Mm-hmm. So the media has been really, really having a good go at real estate and how crap it's been out there, and how, you know, how what's going on with the property market and how it's crashing and all that sort of stuff. It's just not the case, guys. The property market, Mark, you've been in real estate a really long time. Let's look at 40 years of real estate and what the market does over
add
that.
10 years to my.
No, I'm just saying, if we take a snapshot of 40 years,
yep.
What goes on ordinarily in a 40-year, you know, what happens? Let's look back 40 years in real estate. Tell us what happens there.
Boom bust, boom bust, boom bust, boom bust, boom bust, and you know
so
what
40,
I love?
40 years ago, no COVID?
Always something. You know, whether it's GFC 1, GFC 2, whether it's recession, there's actually no excuse for good times in real estate.
Yeah.
But there's plenty of excuses for bad times in real estate. But these things happen, these cycles. So normal is just generally good. It just goes up, pumps, and then bad is like a recession, you know, that sort of stuff, global financial crisis.
So we've had recessions in the past.
So we had one in the in the late 80s. That's when the interest rates really started going bananas for people, and they'll talk about it going crazy. We then fell into a recession, which was 92, 93.
And the real estate market recovered?
Well, yeah. I don't know if you call it a recovery, but it's just, you know what? It's the real estate market has a gravity, and that gravity is just wholesome goodness, good, great, always going up. It's just a natural gravity, but sometimes it loses that gravity with major, and people will double label those events. So GFC, it actually gained gravity, and then you found the interest rate rises from now, it lost gravity. But the thing that I like about this, different to the GFC, is it's manufactured. So when the GFC was happening, we were like, what the hell is going on? I don't understand this. Who has done this to us? GFC 1, GFC 2. This is different because the government's turned along, manufactured it, and said, we're putting the rates up on you kids, and we're going to slow you all down a little bit because you've been eating ice cream for 2 years now. So I sort of don't mind that it's under our control. If it was out of our control, that would be really scary. I think COVID for a period was out of our control. We didn't know what to expect, but this is all pretty. Well, you know what to expect.
Yeah, that's exactly right. But my point is that even when we had that recession in the 80s,
late 80s,
late 80s.
Oh yeah,
the market came up again.
Gravity
between the 80s and the 2000s, the market came up again. So, there is nothing unusual here about what the property market is doing. Sometimes, as you mentioned, Mark, it's artificially brought on. Sometimes it's brought on out of our control. So things like, the weather, the floods, war, things like that obviously will have an impact on a property market that we just can't control.
Bit of Ukraine sort of thing.
Exactly. So, look, the thing is, guys, just be careful about what you're hearing out there in the media. We will always report the facts of what we are seeing on the ground in our market, particularly in our market, because it's what we know. It's what's under our nose. But the market is nowhere near as bad as what people are predicting. I mean, we sold a property last night in Brookvale. It was the second one in the block that sold in the last couple of weeks. But if you go through the real estate section, realestate.com or domain, and have a good look at the sold section, that will start to paint a bit of a picture as to what's going on. So when we see 0 properties being sold on the property market, we know we're in serious trouble. When we are still seeing properties transact, the real estate market is still going okay. If you look at prestige property, I mean, that's going absolutely gangbusters. The Western Sydney, gangbusters. Certain parts of Queensland, WA, Adelaide. I mean, I had a client I just sold for recently in DY. They were moving to South Australia. They can't buy there at the moment. That property market is going crazy. So again, the media is just generalising. Be real careful what you're hearing out there. The other thing is like spring selling season. What usually happens in the spring selling season?
What's happening now is what usually happens in spring selling season is people position it like it's a happy time. People, and I always like going back to bare bone basics of what humans do. They literally hibernate through winter, like in a cave, and then they literally come out in summer and roam around. So I think motive wise, like you start to in spring, you literally spring into getting out. So I think a lot of people, it's a happy time of year. People
property.
Get shit done.
Property. What happens in property?
And then that directly relates to property.
Okay.
So I think what you'll start doing is people start positioning themselves. They're a bit more sleepy through those winter periods, and they start positioning themselves, buying, selling, getting out, doing stuff.
So we usually see
traveling, that people just start getting shit going.
They do. We come out of hibernation, but usually we see a very, very strong amount of property hitting the market in spring. We are not seeing that. And I'm talking about the Northern Beaches, guys. As I said, there's different markets going on at the moment.
Well, we're a beach suburb as well.
We're a beach.
It's outdoor. It's like it's literally, it just starts bumping along. And again, it goes back.
But we're not, Mark. My point is, Mark's struggling to answer questions this morning. So
that was your first dig for the day.
The point is that usually we see a lot of stock hitting the market for spring. We're simply not seeing it. So I'm just about to bring on a beautiful house in North Manly, and it's about to launch this morning onto the major portals. It's been on my socials for a few days now. But I went on to have a look at the competition today, right now, just before we launch, and there's one house on the market in North Manly, one that I can find on realestate.com, which is just unbelievable.
Yeah, and again, people are just sitting down, just I think there's a lot of, at the moment, people are just waiting. It's like, we'll wait and see what's going to happen.
Everyone's put the pause button on.
Yeah. So are we going to buy? No, we're going to sell. We're just going to wait and see what happens. So
yeah,
I think it's quite clever to be doing business now when no one else is doing business.
Well, selling in isolation is always a good idea rather than selling in competition. So, you know, and that's the reality. I mean, if you are a seller and you're sitting here watching and wanting to get your property on the market, I'm not actually sure what you're waiting. What are you waiting for?
Clever time.
What are you waiting for? So I had a conversation with a lady the other day. I did an appraisal on a 2-bedroom apartment in DY.
Yeah.
And she said, look, I think I'm just going to wait until early in the new year. And I said, exactly that. What are you waiting for? What are you going to do with your money when you sell the property? She's wanting to buy something on the Central Coast. And I said to her, but do you realise back in November, December, these properties on the Central Coast weren't even hitting the market? An agent could literally just go ring the first person on their database and the property was sold.
It's so true.
So I'm like, this is your prime opportunity. Get your property on the market now and go buy your house on the Central Coast, because I think there's, you know, a substantial amount of them around.
You know what? There's no fire in the market like there was a year ago. There's no fury in the market.
Northern Beaches, because there's different markets going on at the moment.
It's such a nice time to actually do what's essential. And I was having this discussion yesterday with a client saying, how good is it that you're not getting your fingers burnt when you're trying to buy? You can actually, you know, you're not being rushed with your finance. You're not being rushed with signing contracts. So it's just a little bit more of a market where it's an easier market to transact out and into the next property, which is a really clever time. Like, I felt sorry for people a year ago.
Oh my God. But like, what are you guys waiting for? Like, buyers, listen, are you waiting for that roaring hot market where you've got to line up outside an open home?
If it's essential, just get it done.
No, but even bigger than that, because yesterday I did a social media video on pre-approvals. And like, be cautious, guys. If you've got those pre-approvals, I know we talked about it last week, but those pre-approvals are good for 12 weeks. So I'm even hearing buyers that are coming up to sort of a week or two out of their pre-approvals, finding themselves in trouble.
And a lot of them going snap.
Buying they are.
They're not going to qualify next round, so they're going bang. I'm just going to do it. Can
I just talk about Luke's comment there about rain isn't helping spring?
No. Another thing that I'm finding is that
he becomes really annoying on a Friday. So rain isn't helping spring. Listen, I can tell you now, guys. Mark and I were buyers in the market a few months ago. We went to go and look at a property. It was bucketing down rain, absolutely torrential rain. There was nothing that was going to stop us going and seeing that property. Nothing. So if you are a buyer and you are super, super keen and you're wanting to go out and buy a property, I can assure you, rain, hail or shine, those essential buyers are coming to the open homes.
Absolutely.
Yep.
And another thing I'm seeing is debt consolidation. I've had a lot of clients with 2 to 4 to 5 properties, just tidying things up a little bit. So we never like that property, we're going to sell it, and then we're going to be left with, you know, one or two. We're going to sell 1 or 2 to consolidate debt. So I am seeing that happen in the marketplace where people are just getting, you know, and they're actually happily chatting about it, admitting it, talking about it, which people sometimes conceal or cover up, but not the case. They're having a chat saying, we had a good run. We're going to consolidate.
Yeah, we are definitely seeing that. I'll tell you something else that we're seeing that has been really, really sad actually, is that I have had some vendors that are coming on the market because of the interest rate rises.
Yeah.
So this is not something that we usually do see, but I'm hearing this now more and more where people, and usually it's an investment property, they're wanting to get there. I've had a few apartments of late actually where people are just saying, got to sell, can't afford to hold it. That's been tricky.
Cheeky debt people are finding tricky to get themselves out of. I'll say it again, cheeky debt. The debt that wasn't a really good interest rate with one of the big four banks, people are now trying to refinance, and the new banks are saying, don't want to touch it. Didn't want to touch it last time. Don't want to touch it this time. So they some of these guys where they should have had a 2.5% interest rate took a loan out on a 3.5% interest rate. Bit cheeky debt, I call that.
Yeah.
And then now that's sitting at 5.5, 6, and they're going, oh God. And then they're trying to refinance, and the big four are going, not going to do it. So I know personally, owning something with our super, I looked at the interest rate on that. It's 8.5%. So superannuations are paying 7.5 to 8.5% on their debt now. So because you can borrow money in your super, so and it's a non-secure, I think non-recourse loan, I think they call it. So they charge more on an interest when they're lending money on super. But pretty interesting. Like some of these, if you haven't got a sharp rate with a sharp bank from a year or two ago, and you're trying to refi at the moment, I think those guys are going, you know what, let's just get rid of a bit of debt.
Yep, agreed. So guys, we've just been talking about the media, the market. Be careful with what you are hearing in the media. The media sells when they dramatize. So just be real careful, because there are certainly a lot of different markets going on at the moment. And even in our market, even though the market has stabilized, it does change from week to week. Wednesday was quiet. Last Saturday was absolutely flat chat.
Bananas.
So it's changing from moment to moment, but different areas, different suburbs are seeing their own markets. So when the media reports, they are generalizing. Make sure you do your homework on what's going on in the area that you are looking to buy in. And I'm talking suburb by suburb. So it's really important that you do that.
It's really interesting what Luke's comment here is. And I think some debt consolidation means selling property. So I've said it meaning people are getting rid of some debt, and Luke's taken it meaning they're getting rid of an asset. It's actually a really good point, and I like what Luke's saying. It's a double-edged sword where you want first move advantage. You don't want to be selling that asset too late. And then it's like, shit, I should have sold it a year ago, cleaned up my affairs a year or two ago, because people are already feeling that from last year. They're thinking, I should have sold it last year, then I could have consolidated the debt. But I think all in all, Luke's, it's really true what he's saying. Like, if you beg, borrow, steal, get a second, third job, refinance if you can. If you can hold it, great. But it's a fine line, because you're also dealing with sanity.
And then you've got rents.
Mental sanity.
Well, you are. But then you've got rents that are up.
So guys, that's a big one that that's probably that's huge.
That was like a mic drop moment.
I got excited.
You get excited. So we have a monthly staff meeting, like with all the team. We have individual meetings every week. But we have the big one once a month. And it was really interesting hearing what the property managers were saying. So DY is obviously an area that our agency is in. It's a lot of apartments, lots and lots of 1 and 2 bedroom apartments. And ordinarily, we've seen for years now, those 2-bedroom stock standard apartments have been renting for about $550 to $600 a week for as long as I can remember. That's changed significantly over the last 4 to 6 weeks. So no rental increases were allowed during COVID. So you add that to the fact that the rental market is just going bonkers. And now those stock standard little 2-bedroom apartments, sort of 70 meters squared, nothing overly special, they're renting for $650. They went up $50 a week.
I'll put a stat up on my social media. I put a stat up on my social media, which was reporting a 5% increase in the last 3 months. And I said, if that continues, that's a 20% increase over a year. That's more than we've seen in 10 years on the Northern Beaches.
I know Luke's saying rents are up, why sell? I mean, that's the truth, because of the rents not helping with those interest rate repayments. Look, the tricky thing is, Luke, that and everyone else out there, if you're in a fixed term lease, you can't put the rents up. So how long are people, you know, there's different scenarios as well. You know, if someone's in a fixed term lease and they only signed up 3 months ago, there's not much you can do, right? If you're in a 12-month fixed term.
And
So
you only get one hit a year. So if you
correct.
be really careful,
Yes.
because if you don't just say, I'll put up only $5.
Yeah. And equally, guys, if you're a landlord out there, be careful. Like, just don't get overly greedy with it as well. Because we had a situation that the property managers raised the other day in the meeting, where the landlord wanted to put the rent up significantly. Tenant moved out. Property's now been sitting vacant for the last few weeks. So if you amortize that out, it's, you know, just be careful. It's a bit of a balancing act as well.
It's a bit of an art.
It is. There's
It's
an
a bit
art.
of an
There's
art.
an art to it.
Talk
Hey,
to
I want to
property
talk
management.
quickly, Mark, because I know we're
Geez,
coming
we're
up to
way over
time.
time.
We talked a lot.
Jeez,
Mark talked a lot this morning. He talked a lot. But I want to talk about tomorrow, a big auction that's taking place in Sydney.
Good luck.
A beautiful property. You guys would have seen it all over our socials. Number 2 Riddell Street in Manly. It's one of the most iconic properties, certainly on the Northern Beaches,
Yep.
But right across Sydney. It's attracted a lot of attention. Not necessarily, you know, millions and millions of buyers, but it has attracted a lot of attention in terms of buyer numbers. It's got to be up there with some of the biggest group numbers we've seen coming through a property ever. A couple of Saturdays ago, we had 150 buyers come through. Lots of people just fascinated with this property. That's more what it's been about.
It is, and you know, if you look at these headlands across Sydney, there are specific homes that are specifically iconic on these headlands. Bondi has them. Bronte has them. There's these homes that you'd walk past or drive past and you look up and go, oh shit, that's incredible.
Yeah.
This is that home.
It is, and a lot of people...
For Manly, which is Bondi, Manly.
It is. We called it the Godfather, Manly's most iconic property.
Yep.
Yes, we are going to be live streaming it tomorrow, Luke. Okay. On Facebook, we'll be live streaming on all of our channels, so be sure to watch it. Look, you know, and I've been suggesting throughout the entire campaign, we've had no guide. You cannot put a guide on a property like that.
Yeah.
But we have been giving comparable sales of properties around the area that have been selling, and those comparables have ranged from sort of 13 mil up to 20-ish million. And really, you know, it could go any which way. But it's going to be an interesting auction, so feel free to tune in tomorrow at 9 o'clock
on all our socials.
Yes, certainly. And
put it in your diary.
Put it in your diary. Look, it's a nice one for the community. It really is. And I'll tell you, and I think I mentioned this last week, what a beautiful community the people of Manly are. Everyone seems to know everyone. It is a really tight-knit community, but what beautiful people. You know, I've thoroughly enjoyed running this campaign. No matter what tomorrow brings, it really has been the dream campaign. It truly has. A beautiful property to represent.
This could make history.
Let's see. Let's see.
Could make history.
As I said, it really, you know, it could go any which way tomorrow, but let's see how we go. Good luck to my beautiful vendors as well. And that's it, guys. Tune in tomorrow, as we said, 9 o'clock for that live auction at 2 Riddell Street in Manly.
Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching.
Thanks for talking.
Hey, see you, everyone.
Bye.
Love you. Bye.